Okay, so hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Invisible Gamecast, brought to you by Invisible Gamer. My name's Gabe Gurwin. We're just going to go around and tell everyone who we are. So we'll start with Amy.
Hey guys, my name's Amy Elise Brader. I am the, what's my official title again? Video host and producer, I think, is something along those lines. I should probably remember these things.
Alrighty, and your face was completely frozen during that, so we're having some technical problems, but we're going to work through them because,
Yay, my internet stinks.
So Brien.
I'm Brien Bell. I am Invisible Gamer's news editor.
And he wasn't on the show last week. Here's Jonah Ort.
And I'm Jonah Ort, and I am the social media PR guy / Dark Souls nerd of Invisible Gamer.
That about sums it up. And Michael?
I am the editor-in-chief and founder of Invisible Gamer, and I'm the guy that remembers your titles. Amy, you are the host and producer / video content.
That's close.
And Seth.
Yes, hi. Seth S. Scott, and I guess the music composer / something else. Not really. Michael can.
Editor,
Editor?
music producer.
Sure. There you go.
It's very important.
Jack of all trades.
It's official. Jack of all trades, yeah.
So we're going to get into the news this week. We have quite a bit of stuff to talk about, and then a discussion. There's a lot of articles we put up this week. I thought it was a pretty good week for the site, too. But just to jump right in, so you guys like Minecraft at all? Any of you?
Minecraft might be happening
Minecraft. Are you kidding me?
as we speak right next to me.
Yeah?
It is happening.
So I've actually only played Minecraft a couple times, and it was the Zelda, level pack things that people made.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I might actually be playing a bit more, because apparently the PS4, Vita, and Xbox One versions of Minecraft are coming very soon, according to a post from Owen on the Mojang website, which Brien pointed out to me. So it looks like the Xbox One version of the game is coming in August. It'll cost $20. And you'll be able to upgrade if you have the 360 version for only $5. For PS4 and Vita, they'll also be coming in on August. It looks like you'll be able to get the Vita version for free if you bought the PS3 version, which is very cool.
Which is awesome for me, because I bought the PS3 version to play with my boyfriend while we were doing the long distance thing. And so now I get the version for free, but he's going to have to buy it.
And PS4 is the same deal as Xbox One. It's a $5 upgrade, which is pretty cool. I don't know. It said there will not be cross-platform play though between the PlayStation versions, which I guess.
But you can carry your Xbox 360 saves over to the Xbox One version, which kind of sucks for us because we don't have an Xbox One. I actually have a couple licenses for the PC version, but my wife's laptop couldn't really handle it once the world started getting bigger, so we just have been playing it on Xbox, and she's like a master builder. I like to go into the ground and just dig for shit until I die, and she's up building entire cities while I'm underground.
I was reading a story on Reddit the other day about revenge, petty revenge, and someone. It's genius, and it was eloquently written for one thing. If I can find it and remember, I'll put it in the description. What this person did is they were playing on some custom server where everyone was super hardcore into building, and they were really mean to the newbies and everything. And so eventually you get whitelisted, and they'll be nice to you. And that happened to him. He got whitelisted. His friend got kicked off for arguing about something. So in secret, this guy waited for everyone else to log off to go to school. And while they were doing that, he worked underground and made tunnels with TNT, and waited until the game was about to It did a backup save once a day. So he waited until everyone had logged back on, which was right before it was about to do the backup save, brought them all to this huge tower thing they had been building, and blew up the TNT. And so they all watched their world crumble in front of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I sometimes tell my wife I'm going to take her house and replace every block with dirt. But I never actually do. But no, I was just saying it sucks because we don't have an Xbox One, so if we get the PS4 version, we're going to have to start over.
Yeah.
PS3 also has the upgrade. You can transfer your saves to.
No, right, but we're not playing it on PS3.
I know. But I just want to point that out.
Have you guys ever seen the Statue of Liberty I made in Minecraft?
Mm-mm.
No,
it's really awesome.
but I want
I'm showing
to.
it to you right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to play it, but I didn't have a good PC when it first came out, so I figured it would chug. My Mac's probably good enough to handle it now, but it's kind of past the point where I care about it anymore.
Yeah, my Mac handles it decently well. It's when I start. I've had some friends who've run servers, and they like to run a lot of mod packs, and that's when it starts getting really chuggy. But if I play just vanilla Minecraft, it's usually not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started playing Minecraft like I guess 4 years ago, but it didn't run too great on my PC because I don't have a gaming PC. But I loved the game. It was a lot of fun playing with friends, and I think one of the beauties of the game itself, especially because since I'm a teacher in schools, I think it's bridged this gap with kids now, and it's become this humongous game amongst kids.
Oh, definitely. It's like anytime
Yeah.
little kids are playing, you hear it's.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of this game that's so full of imagination, which is cool. Instead of just like, I feel like before that game, a lot of kids were just playing like Call of Duties and stuff or whatever. But Minecraft has become this huge phenomenon with my students, and like, it's such a cool thing because it's so focused on imagination and stuff. It's a great game. Yeah.
The violent stuff still happens. So last night I was on a subway, and there was a kid. I didn't look how old he was, but he couldn't have been older than maybe 10 years old. Did my face cut off for some reason?
I
You
can
turned
see
it into the letters ING.
I don't know why that happened. Hang on.
You're fine now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back. Okay. So we were, just hanging out on the subway, and this kid, he maybe 7 or 8 years old, he was talking about GTA, and I kind of said under my breath, within the first, 45 minutes of that game, a guy curb stomps another guy and pulls his brain out of his boot, and the kid goes, "Oh yeah, that was Trevor." And I was like, "You should not be playing that."
Yeah. No, I don't like that.
It's always a relief to me when my nephew tells me what he's been doing in Minecraft instead of that his friend snuck Call of Duty over to their house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why
all
I
of
bought it.
all of my 6th grade guys in my youth group that I work with, all of them play Minecraft. It's all they ever talk about.
Huge.
It is you're all right. It's a massive thing, and I've not gotten into it yet. I was waiting for the PS4 version, but now that I know about the $5 upgrade from the PS3 to PS4, plus the PS3 users get the Vita version for free, clearly I have to go and get that first.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to the Vita version, but one thing I do have to say is disappointing when I was reading the story about the launch date for the new versions is that they said that the worlds were going to be up to they were experimenting with the Xbox One and PS4 versions to make the worlds like 36 times bigger, which is really great because the worlds are pretty small on console, but at the same time like they could be endless on the PC, which is part of the appeal to me is that you could just keep going. So that's kind of sad to me, but whatever.
I thought it was supposed to be like 7 times the size of the Earth was how big the world was.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't walked that far yet in my life, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has. But yeah, like I think this is pretty. Honestly, I expected these to be out sooner, but I guess better late than never. But something I guess is relevant to me now because I just finally got around to beating the first episode. Telltale announced today that The Wolf Among Us Episode 4, which is In Sheep's Clothing, will be on PC and Mac on the 27th, as well as PS3, the 360 on the 28th, because that's when the store updates, and then the App Store on the 29th for the iOS version of the game. So, yeah, Jonah, you played this as well. What have you thought about it so far?
I played The Walking Dead, all the way through, like, pretty much just before The Wolf Among Us came out. And then I played the first episode of Wolf Among Us, and I was like, I liked that more than the entire Walking Dead series.
Yeah, I tried to play the first episode of Walking Dead, and I was like, I don't think this is for me. And, like, as soon as I started with The Wolf Among Us and I saw the frog guy, I was like, yep.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
Jonah, I saw that you said that on Twitter. What is it that you like more about The Wolf Among Us? I've only played like half of the first episode, and I thought it was really great. I just got distracted, but I do love
like right away that you see. I guess it's sort of the appeal of those shows, Grimm and Once Upon a Time also, is you see these characters who have their own personality unique to the story, but you can tell what they're supposed to be. Like, she's Snow White.
Characters that you know from other...
Right, so it's easy to kind of... And, like, the main character, Bigby, is the big bad wolf, but he's also the sheriff of the town, so... And they kind of, like... I think my favorite part pretty early on in the first episode, he goes to his apartment, and there's a pig lying on the couch, and he tells the pig to leave, and he's like, I don't have a place to go. He was like, you're the one who blew my house over.
And then you give him beer.
Yeah, and then you give him beer. Or something.
Yeah, and a cigarette.
Yeah, it's great. And,
I've always loved reimaginings of things, and I think that's the appeal of Wolf Among Us to me over Walking Dead, because I'm never really into like the horror zombie kind of thing, and I know Wolf Among Us isn't really horror, it's more about the story, but just kind of that genre never really appealed to me. But when they came out with Wolf Among Us, I think the reason it caught my eye was because they're like, it's a gritty fairy tale world, and I'm like, all right, I can get behind that.
Yeah, for me, it was more so like I thought that the Wolf Among Us really moved a lot faster than Walking Dead did.
A lot happens in that first episode.
Like a ton happens, and there was way more like action sequences. I mean, you can argue like, oh, it's all just quick time events anyway, but like I felt like there was way more player interaction, and it really kept me engaged. A lot more than Walking Dead ever did.
And on iOS, at least, it works way better than that. There's a lot less like walking around and like try to aim your gun at this thing or whatever. It's like the combats are like quick time in terms of like pressing, tapping something, which it works pretty well. God, I keep dropping out. I'm not sure why that happens. But I
keep having the same problem. So sorry.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. I think I'm still going to probably try to play the rest of them on Mac. There's no way to import my save from iOS, I don't think, which is a shame. So I'll just probably have to redo the first one. Try to remember what the choices I made were. I tried to go in line with like what the character would do, even if it maybe would lead to some sort of. I don't like playing. I don't like
too, which is interesting.
Yeah, and like with a game like Mass Effect or even just something with like where they haven't given you as much personification or characterization for a story, you can kind of become the character. Of course, like in Shepard, they don't give him a first name, so you can make him, your first name or her your first name. But with this, they give you a very clear kind of idea of what who Bigby is. So I kind of go along with his kind of gruff, firm but fair with my choices.
And I think that's something
usually
that
if they ask for something, I'll give it to them, but I'll chew them out at the same time.
Yeah, several of my friends who have played both Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead have kind of pointed that out to me, is that with Walking Dead you kind of get that ability to kind of project yourself among the choices, so a lot of times you're choosing what you would have done. But in Wolf Among Us they create such a strong character, and you develop this character right off the bat, that when you're sitting there you're going to probably more think, well, not what I would do, but what would this character do?
Yeah. I guess it's important to remember, too, that The Walking Dead, they created the characters from scratch, whereas with The Wolf Among Us, they're
basing it on,
that were in the Fables comic already, although they're kind of their own interpretation of them.
Yeah, exactly. But I felt like that the real genius of like The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us, like the dialogue in that was that like even like the bad choice or the really good choice still felt like it fit with Bigby's character. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, they were all good.
If you were being a total jerk, you felt like you were being Bigby being a total jerk. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't feel like totally out of left field for the character to be doing these things, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. So moving on, this is something, it was teased. In fact, I think they kind of outright said it before, but Metro Redux, which is the first, the two Metro games that are out right now, Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, are going to be coming to PC and next gen. So it's going to be an updated version. Obviously, they were on PC before, but it says here from PC Gamer, they have a good rundown, that it's going to be taking basically Last Light's gameplay mechanics and engine and tweaks like the mask wipe mechanic and customization, all that sort of stuff, and implementing them into 2033. Now, I played Last Light because I heard they had updated a lot of stuff and made it better than 2033 in terms of how it controls and all that sort of stuff. Now I think I might go back and play 2033 because it seems like they fixed all the problems people have with it. Oh yeah, Brien, go ahead and talk about that. That's actually a good point.
I was just saying in the chat that we're saying PC and next gen, and it's not next gen now. It's new gen.
Yeah.
It's current gen.
We're no longer
I don't even like
low so.
gen.
Now we're so low mo.
There's never going to be another next gen. Calling it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think we'll see one more.
I
That's
think
what every generation says,
until
and
sales go down, they're gonna keep making them.
Yep.
And right now it doesn't look like they are, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we can talk about that for literally hours.
Yeah, and it's
Whole
I mean it's kind of
debate.
like it's just guessing at this point. I think it's guessing for Pactor as much as it's guessing for anyone else when you're talking about like looking at early sales numbers, which are up 40%, even for the Xbox One, which people are saying isn't selling very well. It's up 40% from a good start for the 360. And PS4 is already profitable. Like, the PS3 was not profitable for Sony until like 2 years ago. And the PS4 is already making a profit for Sony.
Yeah.
But
anyway, I totally derailed our Metro
Yeah, I
talk.
did. I'm sorry.
you were excited about this, Brian, because you have not played Metro, correct?
No, I haven't, and I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, I'm really getting wary of the number of remastered last gen ports that we're getting. I'm glad to have Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, and I'm going to buy The Last of Us remastered, and I will probably get Metro Redux. But at the same time, isn't this the point of PlayStation Now coming to PS4 and to other devices? At least in Sony's case, where they're
PlayStation
putting
Now isn't going to be streaming remastered versions. It's
Yeah, I
gonna
mean,
be
they're
streaming
PS3 versions.
basically
depends on your
compromised
net.
versions, because you're going to be running a PS3 version, but over a streaming service. And if you don't have the best internet, you're going to get some compression artifacting and things like that. But,
Of course. Yeah.
And I think that's
and
what
I
makes
honestly,
understand
to me,
that.
it's sort of like Blu-ray versus DVD. You might have a DVD of your favorite movie and you think it looks great, and then you see the Blu-ray and you're like, oh, that looks even better. It's like,
Which I did for my entire
My favorite
DVD
movie is
collection.
Memento, and the DVD has all the special features that the Blu-ray doesn't have. So.
yeah, the DVD of Do the Right Thing is better than the Blu-ray, but no, I mean, if you have a favorite game and it could run better because it was remastered and could have higher res textures, like, why not?
Yeah.
If it's a case of running better,
It's one of those things
I
that is
totally
kind of
understand that.
I think part of it too is just people either they got rid of it or for me, like I don't have room for my 360 right now. So, and like I said, I didn't play 2033 before, and I think they counted like Last Flight sold a lot better than 2033 did. So I think this might be a good decision to just get people kind of on board with the whole series. I don't think we're going to see too many more of these. Because this is a lot of the case of like games that were right on the edge that have come out that they're giving HD versions to. Like, I don't think we're gonna get we might get like a Mass Effect collection or something like that, like collections of all the games. But I don't think we're gonna get
which
like
is already out. They already
I don't
have a
think
Mass
it's-
Effect collection.
I don't think it's ever going to stop. Square's released Final Fantasy IV like probably 15 different
times.
times.
They're kind of an anomaly though. Square
1991.
releases their Final Fantasy games a
Yeah,
million
but the
times.
point is the people are still buying it. I mean, the last one obviously that came out was for PSP, or actually it might have been iOS or something, but people are still buying those, and as long as they're buying them, they'll continue putting them out.
Yeah, and if
yet
people
they
still
won't
want them,
put out a remastered Final Fantasy VII.
Someday, maybe.
was there a PC version of that came out?
Yeah.
Or was it just the same game?
It wasn't remastered, I don't think.
Yeah. It was
higher
just
res textures.
But we have to be careful. Remember that what was that Final Fantasy that they ported to iOS a couple months ago?
Oh, it looks so bad. It was
Oh, are you talking about All the Bravest?
No, not that one. Not All the Bravest. Not that one. There was
Final
another one
Fantasy
they ported.
from the DS.
it was
It might have been like the backgrounds looked horrible and the sprites looked really bad. Like they tried to make it upgraded, but it like just.
Oh, you're talking about the best Final Fantasy of all time?
I think it was 6, right?
Final Fantasy 6?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, it was terrible on iOS. It looked so cheesy and bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, 16-bit, that generation is like the only one that's aged to the point where you really shouldn't mess with it if you release it on other gens.
Yeah.
'Cause
No, it
It
doesn't
really
need to
knew
be
it.
touched.
Well, I think I've kind of argued this a little bit with you before, Gabe, that like I feel like 16-bit was sort of like the pinnacle of pixel art as far as my opinion, and that's why people are still aping that style now. It's
I
sort
just
of like,
see it as lazy now, though. That's my thing.
well, I don't know. It's sort of like it was sort of like a peak of artistry over technology, and now they're just like they're like trying to make all those old games like look fresh by giving them like higher resolution character models and things like that, but they just look cheap.
But there's a difference between them doing that to a game that already came out and people have an understanding of what it is compared to a company releasing a game made for 2014 and giving it an art style to make it seem like it's a Super Nintendo game, which I think too many companies are doing. Now, I'll also be the first to say that I loved the pixel art in Super Time Force, but it had a purpose because the game was set kind of in that 80s thing, and it was all about the nostalgia and the time traveling component and stuff. Plus, it just made the gameplay easier. But
I think that a lot of the pixel art now, especially when it's coming from more indie developers, is the fact that a lot of these indie devs are like maybe growing up and they grew up with the 16-bit graphics, and so they're making games that aren't worried about having next gen graphics, and they just want to make something like they remember that they love, and so I don't see a problem with it when it's done as a stupid term, but a love letter to that genre they grew up with and that art style.
I'm just worried.
I just think it's the same exact debate as oil paint versus watercolors or hip hop versus punk. It's just what you like better.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
But like going back to like the Metro Redux thing, like for me, I'm definitely going to pick it up because I'm a PC gamer, and I don't know if you guys know about the Metro 2033 PC port, but it is maybe the worst PC port of a game ever released ever. It is almost unplayable.
Low praise there.
But like it is almost unplayable without mods, and even with mods, it still just chugs. So I would really like that to run well on my computer that I paid lots of money for.
So I've never played Metro. What sets it apart from other?
So Metro, well, it's based off a book first. I guess the thing that it's post-apocalyptic, but there's no zombies or anything. It's sort of a mutant. It's a very dark, brooding kind of game. It's slow-moving. There's a lot of focus on survival and like resource management and stuff like that. But the setting is like the really cool part. Most of it, it's called Metro because most of it takes place, about half of it I guess, takes place in this subway tunnel where everyone lives. And then you go to the surface, which has been destroyed by like nuclear war at this point, where mutants live and stuff. And so it's kind of all of like survival, get what you need, and go back down sort of thing.
So the setting
in
is
Russia.
Fallout?
It's similar to Fallout, I guess.
Yeah, definitely similar.
Fallout
I'd say
in
way
Russia.
darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, way darker
and
than
with a
Fallout.
political leaning too. There's different factions. There's like neo-Nazis, communists, like uber capitalists, and then I think they're just called the Rangers or the I think they're the Spartans for some reason. Which your character, what's his name? I'm trying to remember what his name is.
Is it an MMO?
No, it's a first. It's single player.
Okay.
No, yeah, it's just it's linear too.
Yep, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. It does not follow many of the conventions of what you consider a modern shooter. The checkpoint, some of that's bad. The checkpoint system's pretty terrible, but you have these gas masks and these filters for the gas masks, and you have to constantly be monitoring to see how much time left you have on a filter and how many filters you have left, because otherwise you'll start suffocating above ground and you'll have to look for them. You can like make improvised like air rifles, which is really cool, and then you can sell. You can get this military grade ammunition. I think it's just in the sequel, and you can either use that for your weapon or you can sell it to get more regular ammo, which is what you should always do. But it's just a very, very cool setting.
Yeah, Michael, if you're to convince you that these games are cool, look at like gameplay with the gas mask, because like the way that they render it over your face is so, it's like interesting. Like you really feel like, I mean, I know this sounds like super contrived, but it's like
Is it like Metroid Prime?
Yes,
senses?
it is. It's like, but it's better. Just because technology, blah blah
And there's
blah.
a dedicated face wipe button. You'll get grime and stuff, and you have to wipe your face off to get it off.
Yeah, like blood will splatter. Yeah.
That almost sounds like a waste of a button, but that's cool. I like
Imagine
things like
Imagine
that.
Kinect-enabled face
You
wiping.
can't jump, but there is a wipe button.
Use
exactly.
the touchpad on your PS4 to wipe your face.
For sure. The only thing about last.
Quick. The one thing that I think is really smart about this remaster compared to the ones that we've had before is that they're selling both games combined for $25. Whereas you get Tomb Raider for $60, and Last of Us I assume is going to be $60. We don't know yet.
No, it's $50. It's $25 each if you buy them combined. It's still $50.
Okay. Still, $25 for one of those games is really good.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing about Last Light that kind of bugged me was it's not big on set pieces, but because of the checkpoint system and the item management, it can be a pain. There's a part in the game where you fight this, I don't know, you played Last Light, right, Jonah, or did you just play 2033?
I just played a little bit of 2033.
Okay, so in Last Light, there's a part where you're in this cave system, and then this bridge that you're on collapses. There's like a rock fall thing down behind you, and then you walk into this big room, and you fight this monster. And basically, the checkpoint system makes it so that if you didn't have enough ammo before that happens, you're completely screwed and you have to restart the level. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In 2033, it was like that, but worse. Because like it would delete it deleted saves as you went forward, so you would be totally screwed in situations like that. So. That would be a good game to remaster because it had problems, and it could be way better with little tweaks.
Definitely. So real quick, we're going to talk about what we were mentioning a second ago, and Brien, you can kind of lead the discussion on this because you wrote the story for us. So PlayStation Now, the PS4 beta is coming soon.
Yes. Have I written the story for it yet? I didn't think I had, but yeah. See, I don't even know what I'm writing anymore. We've got so much stuff.
No, you're still on fire.
Guys, InvisibleGamer.net. Check us out. Yeah, PlayStation Now has been in private beta for the PS3 since not too long after CES back in January. And finally, just on May 20th, which was earlier this week, they announced that the PS4 private beta is starting. And that's really awesome because it's supposed to be coming out sometime this summer in public. Don't know if it's going to be public beta or if they're actually going to release quote-unquote final build of it. But yeah, it's just good that they're moving it on to different platforms and getting people to test it and to let the public get closer and closer to what could be a big initiative for Sony going forward.
So I read that it was supposed to be launching with hundreds of games. I don't know if we know what that entails, but I'm curious what everybody here who is, assume you're all PlayStation fans, or most of you. I'm wondering, what everybody is looking forward to, hypothetically playing on using PS Now. Because, for me, there's lots of PlayStation games that you still can't buy on PSN. Like in the US, you can't get Fear Effect. Or I would love to play the original XCOM again on my Vita, but those things aren't available. So I'm wondering what you guys are.
I don't know why that game hasn't been ported to the Vita. I don't know. To be honest, I'm not too excited about PlayStation Now because the only series that they haven't announced yet that I really want to play from the PS3 gen are the Uncharted games, and I'm almost sure they're going to release a collection of that.
Yeah, but PlayStation Now is not just for PS3; it's for.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there's.
And you have to PS4 is getting, we just talked about The Last of Us remastered, but one of the first games that they showed off running on PlayStation Now was The Last of Us at CES. Yeah. So if you think that they're not going to double dip on that, I think you're mistaken because they're going to try and get money from whatever ways they can, however they can.
Oh, I'm sure they are. It's just the number of games that I think I'd want to go back and do that with isn't too high, and I'd rather just buy the the HD versions of the games that I want to play.
I think that's kind of the boat I'm in because a lot of the games that I would have been looking forward to playing through PlayStation Now are stuff that I've already bought for myself in some way, shape, or form. I also don't have a PS4 yet, so I can still go back and play all those PS3 games. And while it would be nice to transfer everything over to the PS4 and be able to stream those games that way, I really don't see myself getting rid of my PlayStation 3 anytime soon. I like knowing that option is out there, but most of the games that I would want to play through that kind of streaming service, I either have owned for myself or I've bought a remastered version, such as I got Final Fantasy X-10-2, I have the Kingdom Hearts collection, I own all the Uncharted games. I have all Mass Effect waiting for me, so it's one of those things.
Seth, I need you to save this discussion. Everybody's laser focused on PS3. There were 2 other PlayStations before that.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm old and I want to talk about things that are old.
I wasn't at this PS3 gen, so.
There are a lot of PS2 games that I really want to go back and try because I didn't have a PS2, and I think it'd be great to play some of the stuff that came out that gen because there were so many games that generation, and if they even bring out a fraction of them to PlayStation now, that's awesome.
That's a good point, actually. The series, I didn't have PS2 either, and the series that I really, really want to play from that gen is Kingdom Hearts. Because I played Chain of Memories, and we were talking about this before we started recording, but I've only played little bits and pieces of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, so those are games that I really want to go back and play.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 is phenomenal, yeah.
I don't think it holds up.
That theme song on that commercial is like my childhood, and I never even had the game.
Yeah, I know, same.
I bought the remaster of Kingdom Hearts, and I think it actually doesn't hold up very well, unfortunately.
I think it holds up okay. I also probably have nostalgia.
The camera's terrible. Camera's horrible.
Yes, the camera sucks.
Did anybody ever play Destroy All Humans on PS3?
Yes.
That was a THQ game, right? That was Pandemic?
Yeah, Pandemic.
That game was great. There's a lot of fun. Very, very good humor, too, in my opinion.
It's like Grand Theft Auto, but you're like a Jack Nicholson-style alien.
You're an alien.
They looked like the sectoids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Say it again?
They looked like the sectoids from XCOM.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I think PlayStation Now is the most exciting when it comes to the PS Vita, Vita streaming. I mean, I know that there's no way that's going to be perfect, at least not right out the gate. But being able to play PS2 games, possibly PS3 games on a Vita is awesome, and it makes me want to buy a Vita. But yeah, if we're talking PS2 games, there's a ton I want to play. A couple, God Hand, that weird Japanese beat 'em up from forever ago, and
a Capcom game they never ever advertised, I think.
I know, yeah, which was secretly really good apparently.
Yeah.
And also I've always wanted to get my hands on a copy of Black, that game.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That was Criterion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember the devs have always from Criterion have said that they loved that game and they really wish they could go back to it. So I think that's something really
that was
special.
the big push on that was Matrix Destruction, right? How that scene. It looked like that lobby scene from the Matrix. What I've seen of that.
Yeah, it had a fairly advanced,
terrain destruction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Red Faction level stuff.
Red Faction.
Yeah, and apparently the gun physics were really good, Battlefield quality, they felt good. But both those games, it's sort of tough to find a copy of them, so I think those would be really good to bring, digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
One of my favorite series from that generation of GameCube PS2 was Time Splitters, and I played those games too much, and I own all of them, but they're phenomenal. And if anyone hasn't played them, if they do bring them to PlayStation Now, they're so worth it. I mean, it's basically just kind of an upgraded GoldenEye engine with more humor and just wackiness. That was super.
Seth, have you played Second Sight?
Second Sight?
Yes.
I have not. I know. Same
developers. I'm trying to think of the name of the team that worked on those games. But they became Crytek UK. And Second Sight was their baby before they started working on Time Splitters. That was their first project. It's kind of like PsyOps, the Mind Conspiracy, except it's kind of a Bourne tale where he loses his memory, and it's told out of order. It's really, really good. That's probably one of my favorite games from that gen.
Yeah,
Am I the only person here with a backwards compatible PS3?
Ooh, I have one.
I have one too. Oh. I made sure when I bought a PS3 that I went on a search to make sure it was backwards compatible because I was refused to not be able to play my PS2 games.
I got mine.
We used to have one.
Player.
Yeah.
Used to have a backwards compatible PS3 in my house until our house got robbed.
Oof.
Sorry, dude. I had to have it.
It's like
it was me on the console.
We've solved the crime.
It's like the loudest system I've ever. It basically tells me to have my air conditioning on. But it's great, and I can play almost all my PS1 games on it too, which was huge. Yeah.
Which ones can't you play on it?
Oh man, I can't remember now. It was years ago, but there was a couple that it just wouldn't work.
Holy crap! The Witcher 2 is $4 right now
on Steam.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Not for you because you hated it, but
I hate it. But it's $9.99 used at GameStop for Xbox 360. I saw it the other day.
Yeah,
I played.
That was a later report. So we're gonna move on so we can, for brevity's sake, I guess this won't be a very long topic, but. Okay, I never expected this to happen, but today Ike got confirmed for Super Smash Brothers. Chrom has not been yet. I hope he doesn't because he was a lame character and Ike was a lot better. Even though Awakening was a great game, but Chrom was boring.
What's great about Ike? I want to know why people are so excited about Ike, specifically because there are 11 Fire Emblem games, and people only seem to care about Ike and Marth and Roy.
I don't know why people care about Marth. The reason why I care about Ike is because he was fun. It was a more light thing. His backstory wasn't just I'm a prince and I'm saving the it's I think a more kind of cool coming of age kind of tale for them. I don't know. That's why I liked him. It was more personable.
I just rebought the 2 Game Boy Advance games, and I'm hoping they get here before I have to go to California.
I love those games.
But
that's what got me. I mean, Smash was I think what got a lot of people into Fire Emblem.
Yeah, it's true. It did. That's why those games sold well when they came out here. But having said that, Fire Emblem Awakening is the best-selling game in the series ever. Mm-hmm. So I really hope they bring some characters, or a single character from it would be great. But I feel like it wouldn't be Chrom. I feel like it would be Marth.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just can't remember her name.
If you don't get, it's Lucinia, I think, or Lucinda.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that twist there. Yeah, Awakening's a great game, and I think the gameplay mechanics. I wish they had the bonus XP thing from the Radiant games because I like that idea. Path of Radiance is still my favorite just because I really like the story and the elements of dealing with racism and stuff. But Awakening is still a great game, and it looks amazing.
But speaking of characters that have not been announced, there was another story about Smash Brothers, right?
Oh yeah. You mean the NFC stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there's a report, and I don't know. I haven't been able to look into this too much before we recorded, but there's going to be some sort of Nintendo figurines interacting with Super Smash Brothers, and we haven't seen really anything from NFC yet. And if you're not familiar, that's the on the Wii U gamepad. There's that little square in the bottom left corner, and this is going to be, I guess, their take on the Skylanders Disney Infinity sort of idea of putting a character on there or anything and having some interactivity with the game.
For those unfamiliar, what does NFC stand for?
It stands for Near Field
Communication.
It's one of those things that's it's still considered a rumor because it was a Nintendo France representative said that it was going to happen.
So it was translated and
Well, it got removed.
Yeah, then the interview was published and then that bit was removed afterwards.
But then it went back up.
It's one of those things that that they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if anybody read the story about the company that made Skylanders, but Nintendo actually turned down Skylanders exclusivity.
I did that. Toys for Bob is the name for anyone unfamiliar.
So, which obviously is not just a huge video game sales success, but it's sort of revitalized the toy industry in a lot of ways. So Nintendo would be just plain stupid to not do something.
Definitely. The thing about Skylanders that's amazing, I was at a GameStop at one point, and you can kind of get a gauge of how the industry's going by just going into your local GameStop and seeing what they're selling. For instance, there's no Vita section at my GameStop anymore. The only Vita games they sell are the pre-ordered ones from people. But when I went in there at one point, I think it was last year around the time the Wii U came out, they had a sign up saying no more than 2 Skylanders figures per customer. They had to limit how many people could buy them.
Yeah, I make a point of avoiding GameStop when I can, but I was in one last week and I was looking for DS games, and I've known for a while that they don't really keep cases for used DS games anymore.
Yeah, they just put them in that glass thing.
Basically, where there could have been a DS section, it was just a Skylanders and the Infinity section.
It's insane.
Hundreds of different.
Yeah, they could do a lot with the NFC figures in Smash 2. I think it's a versatile game for that instead of it just being like one thing or another. We'll see.
My one problem with that is that
game, though. Like, why not have Pokemon figures and do that? Not have an MMO, because MMOs don't work.
I mean, they do have Pokemon NFC figures for the Wii U, don't they? For Pokemon.
They do.
Rumble.
Yeah. Rumble, yeah.
People sort of like the idea of getting NFC figures for Smash because it's like Nintendo shit to collect. But at the same time, like, I don't think people that really like fighting games are in love with the idea because it's sort of one of those pay-to-win things, and
or at least not have as many characters like with the game you bought.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern with it.
Yeah, Pokemon is something where it does make sense, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on pay-to-win either, but I think that if they were going to sell, like, let's say they add DLC characters through the eShop or something, I would rather buy the character as a figure than buy it digitally, if they added something like that, and even added $1 to it or something like that just because it's a figure. But, there's ways they could make it interesting, I guess, but I don't think they're going to do... There you go. I don't think they're going to do too much in terms of unlocking characters with the NFC figures for Smash. I don't think they're going to go that route.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it either.
Especially the arm just fell off.
Especially the way that it seems like Nintendo is embracing Smash on a competitive level again.
Yeah.
So having locking characters away as purchase only seems like something they're not going to do. I don't believe it. I see it maybe used for other stuff, but.
So what do you think it's going to be if it's not Pokemon? If it weren't Pokemon, I should say.
Well, what do I think they'd use it for in Smash?
No, what kind of game do you think would support that coming from Nintendo?
What about a new IP?
Yeah,
That'd
but
be nice.
people aren't going to rush out to buy toys for a new IP from Nintendo. Like, they're going to capitalize on their unless it's like a new IP as in like it's a new setting to bring all of your favorite.
I don't know. I mean Spyro wasn't exactly a system seller when they started Skylanders, and they put Spyro's name on it, but he hasn't sold it. I mean, it was kind of the business model.
Yeah.
I think they could make like a Disney Infinity type world, like Nintendo World game. That could be pretty fun. And I mean, I liked Nintendo Land in a lot of ways. And like the Lego games, I think do a good job of making kind of an open world action adventure game. And I think if they just basically substituted Nintendo characters into that, they could sell millions of copies.
Imagine a Lego game where you could scan your Lego structure into the game.
Oh man,
that would be cool.
That would be insane.
Did anybody ever play Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts?
No.
You could build your own stuff on that, which is pretty cool. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
That game. That was a game.
I mean, I think Nintendo could just use the NFC characters as a more generic function too, like a kind of a profile save transfer, or something where you could go to your friend's house and play or something.
Well, that's how the Skylanders figures work, isn't it? Where the characters level up in your game, and then you can transfer that character data. It's sort of like a memory card in a way for that character specifically that you can take to any other copy of the game.
It's cool. So let's just keep going right here. And Michael, you were talking about this earlier. So Ubisoft is not going to be showing any Nintendo games at E3 this year. And so before we get into you kind of talking a little bit more about this, I think this is important because they've been, not just with the Nintendo, but really all new hardware. Ubisoft is always the biggest third-party supporter off the bat. They had Zombie U out. They were supposed to have an exclusive for Rayman Legends, but they thought better of it, I think, for the Wii U. They had multiple launch titles that came out for the Vita.
Even going as far back as the 360. That one of the only games you could get for the 360 at launch was Peter Jackson's King Kong, the movie, the video game, or whatever.
Yeah, which was not too bad.
It wasn't bad.
Ooh, underrated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go for that, Jonah. Jonah's starting.
It's not great, but it was cool looking then.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. especially moving from. It was the perfect blockbuster type game to show off the new power of the 360.
But I played it on PSP where it was actually awful.
Okay, yeah, that would be bad. That game, there was this system you had to throw spears at dinosaurs. It was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, but yeah, like you were saying, it's sort of Ubisoft has been always there to support new hardware, and as somebody who was really hoping the Wii U would do well when it came out, it was great to see them come out, with Warner and a couple others, and it was great to see them continue that support for a while. But it became clear pretty quickly that they weren't happy with the sales for Wii U, and all the other developers were dropping support, so they couldn't keep doing that much longer. It wasn't sustainable, and now it looks like they've stopped, which basically leaves Nintendo and indies as the sole developers for the Wii U.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm okay with, in a way, honestly. I mean, it'd be nice to have that third-party support, and they need it in some ways, but, I mean, I personally play, I have my Nintendo for Nintendo games, for the most part, I guess.
Yeah, it's always been that way with, Nintendo fans like you and me are going to continue to be happy with their purchase.
Of course.
If the Wii U is the only system you have for some reason, there's actually plenty to play on it. But eventually, it's just sort of one of those things where it's like they need to have that support if they're going to keep developing for it, because they need new games to showcase the hardware, and they can't do it all themselves.
And remember, back in the day, it wasn't just. I'm going back all the way to the Super Nintendo, because the N64, I guess, is a good example too. Systems that did pretty well, and the Wii's kind of an anomaly because it dropped off so quickly. But the Super Nintendo and the N64 weren't just Nintendo games. There was a lot of other companies developing games that were just on that system.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the N64 was actually when companies started jumping ship, because Nintendo insisted on a cartridge format, which was prohibitively expensive compared to making CD games.
Yeah. And if you look up how the PlayStation came to be, you'll see it's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, that's sort of the beginning of Nintendo's hubris, sort of killing themselves or killing them, and the Wii U was an anomaly, but that's not going to happen for them again.
Yeah. The Wii, you mean?
The Wii, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing here is how Ubisoft has dropped support for them while still, for some reason, continuing to support the Vita, especially in the U.S., where Vita sales have dropped below 10,000 units a month, which is less than the Wii U is selling. We just heard that Child of Light is coming to Vita last week. Yeah. So
I think it might be a case of just easier ports, because with the Wii U, there's a lot more you have to factor in the gamepad, whereas Child of Light is just kind of a straight, the engine works on a lot of different things.
And PlayStation is always, their third-party support team is always trying to get games onto the Vita. They are tirelessly working on that, both in North America and Europe. Games are coming all the time. They're indie games, and they're things like Borderlands 2, which doesn't run very well the first week until a new patch comes out, but they're still bringing a lot of things to the system. So
I think it really is going to become an indie thing, though. I don't think there's going to be any. I think even Sony's going to stop making AAA games for it, because, there's only a couple AAA successes on the Vita, really.
Yeah, it's
Liberation
too expensive for what it's worth,
And Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation sucked, and that game was on the Vita, and it sold 600,000 copies, I think, which was good enough for Ubisoft at that time. But besides that, it's like games that came out at launch. Uncharted was great. That sold pretty well because it was.
Wipeout was a lot of fun.
Liberation didn't suck. It just had too much forced, too much gimmicky stuff that you couldn't get around. That really
Liberation had that's why I had to stop playing Liberation. Is I got stuck at one point with some stupid thing.
Was it where you had to shine light through the screen?
No, I eventually figured that out, but I did throw that one around the room for a while.
Sorry to bring that up on 2 podcasts in a row, but I'm just kind of bummed out that Ubisoft can throw more money at Aisha Taylor, but not on porting a game to a Nintendo platform.
I mean, I would love to have the option for the third-party support. Not saying I only really want Nintendo games or first-party games. Basically saying that I'm happy with just that, but having the option to get, like Child of Light on the Wii U or other games really would be great, and it's sad that they're not going to continue that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I also think Valiant Hearts is going to come to the Vita, but it's just, you know. But speaking of the thing about Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation that it wasn't the Vita stuff I didn't like. What I didn't like was the persona system they had in place, where you had to keep switching your outfits to stop yourself from getting caught. It was way harder to like get anonymous in that game, or incognito, or whatever they call it, compared to the console game. Or 4.
I like to play dress up, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, seriously, I sat there for a while and was like, okay, what color do I want my dress to be?
So, real quick, also, so Aisha Taylor, you had Taylor here, but it's Tyler. She's on the reboot of Whose Line, and she's Archer, I think, is the show that a lot of people know her from. So she's hosting for the 3rd year in a row. She had the hashtag Girlwood thing that she's kind of.
That's what I know her from, because I'd never heard of her before. I went to Ubi's press conference, and there was this really aggressive woman who was like super pandering to like everybody in the room.
Yeah, but she wasn't Mr.
Better than Joel McHale talking down to everybody in the room, though.
He does that every time he's in anything, though. That's kind of his shtick, and if you don't realize that going in, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
I will buy that. I hear Brooklyn's kind of up and coming.
But it's still better than Mr. Caffeine.
Oh, yeah.
No one can be as bad as Konami, so...
The 1 million troops?
You mean Tak Fuji? Or somebody else? That guy's too cool. That guy's so cool. I love him.
God, that was the worst.
I met him at my first E3, and I didn't realize it. He was showing me how to play Frogger. And then, like, I'd never seen Frogger before, which is amazing. And then he walked away, and I was like, "Oh right, that was the
that was that person that I should probably have known." Yeah.
How? Like, I would actually pay like $5 to see Tak Fuji explain Frogger to somebody. Like how would he like?
He was actually just showing me like how to get into the game, which was basically like hit start, select game mode, play. But still, it was really kind of charming because he was really excited about the game, as he seems to be excited about everything. So he just wanted to get me in and playing. But yeah, it was great that he like felt that I needed to be. I don't think that I look like I'd never played a video game before, but who knows?
So we're gonna move on now to this discussion we had set up. We talked a little bit about Mario Kart last week, but we have 2 different topics, Nintendo topics. One of them is Mario Kart, which Michael has a lot to say about. As you'll see, we put up a video about tracks that will blow your effing mind. And then we have a little bit of talk about Tomodachi. What was that? Yeah, 16.
Yeah. And
then a little bit of discussion about Tomodachi Life, which is in North America for some reason.
Coming out June 6th. I figured we should talk about Mario Kart 8 a little bit, just because I think it's as far as we know right now, it's the biggest game that the Wii U is probably ever going to get. As far as sales, it's also probably the biggest game I'm going to review all year. So it comes out next Friday. I've been playing it for a couple weeks. As you guys know, I'm kind of in love with it. And I sort of had this fear going into it that it was going to be... there's sort of been this trend with Nintendo games where they have this sort of either-or sort of... I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, but the portable versions of their games are always great, past couple of generations, and then the console versions end up being crap. And to me, like, Mario Kart Wii was a huge disappointment because it had this sort of really awful ratio of, like...
You hungry there?
Definitely wasn't me. They basically, because the Wii was a casual system, they sort of tweaked the balance so much towards letting everybody win, where it was like pretty much you were always getting run over by people with mega mushrooms or like that stupid lightning bolt cloud thing, or getting hit by blue shells. And so, you got that stuff so often that it was basically like, I felt like I feel like I'm good at Mario Kart, and I've been really good at it since Mario Kart 64, and that was a game where I constantly was losing, and I didn't think it had anything to do with my skill level. So Mario Kart 8 was like to me from that was actually a huge turnaround. But I'm curious what other people think about, like what other people liked about the previous versions of the games or didn't like. So I can sort of talk about how those things are addressed in Mario Kart 8 because I know people are really looking forward to it. So who wants to?
Well, for me, it was that the one thing Nintendo's done pretty terribly on every other game they've ever made, the online, on 7. But I guess it was just a big surprise. The Wi-Fi connection just shut down. But Mario Kart DS, the online for that was way ahead of its time. They had some things to work out, like if a player quit, the game would end and you wouldn't get a win, stuff like that.
Right. But
that was great, and I'm excited to see how the online community takes advantage of this next one.
Yeah, Mario Kart DS was my favorite game in the series before I played Mario Kart 7. But unfortunately, like, pretty quickly, because the DS was so easy to hack, the online game in Mario Kart DS was just overrun by hackers and cheaters. Yep. And, like, even up to the last day that Wi-Fi connection was running this week, I had friends that went online and played. I didn't even bother because I knew what it was going to be like, but I had friends that went online to play and say goodbye, basically, and it was like people were, like, other racers were just going jittery all over the screen, and, like, basically people were getting lapped because people were cheating, and
this game came out before you could patch games, so yeah, you could...
Yeah, the DS was out before Nintendo could really patch games. They actually could patch games by taking your system and putting a save file on it. They sort of did that with Zelda on the Wii.
Yeah, that was an issue with that save bug.
But yeah, Mario Kart 7's online was compromised in the beginning on, I forget which Woohoo course it was, but you could basically jump off of the track near the beginning and skip like 30 seconds ahead. But that was fixed. But I don't know, what other things did people like about the past few games or didn't like about them?
Well, I'll say, like, I've been a huge Mario Kart fan for basically my entire life since the Super Nintendo version, but to me they were always huge, like, local multiplayer games. So the online, has ever since they introduced online in Mario Kart, I've enjoyed it, but it was never a selling point for a game or the thing I did most on it. So I'm excited that the online, it seems from what I've heard, that the online is pretty well done in 8. And I will play a lot of online just because of lifestyle now and not having as much time with, local multiplayer. But the best parts of those games growing up and playing all of them were just with friends in the room playing battle mode and racing. And so, I'm looking forward to 8. I think we're having a party the weekend it comes out with friends to play that game, which we do every year pretty much for Mario Kart. But it just
I saw the trophies you made.
Yeah.
I was hoping I could convince you to just send me one.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. We definitely have some left over. You might get, I'm not sure what award you got, but you might get Trash Talker or something like that. But
yeah. That's always been Mario Kart's strength, is the local multiplayer. Right. And I don't know if I told you guys, but I think I told you guys I had a bunch of friends over to test Mario Kart 8 a couple weekends ago, and we were all just drinking and playing Mario Kart, and it was exactly the same as it always is. It's like basically like just loud and crazy, and like there was I guess my wife hadn't played Mario Kart in a long time, but she'd been practicing before people came over, and there were like 5 or 6 of us, and obviously it's only a 4-player local game, but I remember when I wasn't playing, I was just sort of like walking around in the kitchen getting something to drink or some guacamole or something, and like my wife was like screaming like, "Do you like the taste of my banana?" and stuff like that. And it's just like that kind of stuff. It just brings like fun out in people.
Yeah.
But like,
I was just gonna say, there's a great thing about Mario Kart that it has this element of randomness that really levels the track. And like it did, like you're saying, the unbalanced randomness in like the Wii version was ridiculous, and it was kind of destroyed it in a way. But I think the fact that you can definitely have a gap between people who are really skilled at Mario Kart and people who are just playing it for the first time per se, but there's also this way that the game can make people give them that edge, and then they have a blast playing the game with people who are extremely skilled at it, just because it really balances that learning curve well.
And that's what I like about Mario Kart 8 the most, honestly, over recent, at least the Wii version, is that, yeah, there's that element, like you said, but the balance is there so that people like me who are good at the game aren't always losing to people who got lucky, but at the same time, like, there's plenty of opportunities for people who aren't so great to just, like, even if they don't win, to, like, mess with other people. Which is, like, the whole point. It's not even necessarily always about winning. It's just about the sort of fun of the match. And the games have had replay modes for a while, but they sort of have, like, added a bunch of extra options now. Like, you can like, focus on up to 4 different characters in the replay. You can make the replay, like, the entire race or only 30 or 45 or 60 seconds of it. You can focus on big hits or items or drifting. So and you can do, like, slow-mos and, like, rewinds and stuff like that, like real-time rewinding. So it's a lot of fun. Like, everybody can, like, relive, like, the part where you just, like, cut in front of somebody and, like, dropped a green shell and knocked, like, 3 people over and everybody's laughing. And I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it. So.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the graphics too. Not to mention, graphics don't make or break a game, but it really I mean, from what I've seen, and even in compressed videos, basically all I've seen, but it still just looks amazing. Like,
yeah, they are gorgeous. I think we should move on. I think Gabe was about to get to that, but if you guys want to see more of Mario Kart 8, check out our videos. It's every new track, and you can watch them in 720p. It's still compressed, but they're still pretty gorgeous. So.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the other thing that you had. Tomodachi, this demo has come out.
Yeah, Tomodachi Life. So Seth and I apparently both got the so Club Nintendo members. I don't know if it's everybody that had registered.
It's you have to be a platinum member, I think.
Okay, so I don't know if it's every platinum member that also registered Animal Crossing New Leaf, but at least a select number of those people got a demo that actually isn't going to be released until, as far as I can tell, because the demo keeps telling me the game is available now in the eShop when it doesn't come out until June 6th.
Have you clicked the button when it says click here to go to the eShop to buy the game?
No. Have you?
I'm afraid it'll, like, destroy my 3DS or something.
It will. No, but anyway,
it's just gonna explode
it's like a 2-week early demo. It's really limited in what you can do.
Super limited.
But I got this email in the middle of the night. I'd had a rough day. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was about to go to bed, and I got this email. So I jumped out of bed and downloaded the demo and woke my wife up because my 3DS kept saying, "I am Michael Burns. I like to be in charge and tell people what to do." And and she was like, "I'm Delia Burns and I'm trying to go to bed." And I was like, "Well, wait though, I'm gonna make you too." And it was like, "I'm Delia Burns. Let's go shopping." And so then she was up, and so basically, what Tomodachi Life is it's sort of like Tomodachi means friendship in Japanese, so it's sort of like a weird cross between Animal Crossing and sort of like a Sims or something like that, where you have an apartment complex on an island, and you can have I think up to 30 or 25 different Miis living in it. In the demo, you can only have 3. So I have me and my wife and Hayao Miyazaki, because he's one of the Miis that was on my system already.
That's fine. I have Ron Jeremy on my system.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I have Jack Black and Mr. Bean and all kinds of fun ones. But I was thinking about Studio Ghibli this week because of this documentary I was waiting for that I had ordered. But so I added him, and I sort of, you get to sort of tweak their personalities, their voices, and I had sort of made Hayao Miyazaki kind of more serious and things like that, but you can only, it's like, it doesn't specify like a job type or anything like that for them, but I tweaked his personality the way that I thought like was appropriate for him, and then he was like, "I'm Hayao Miyazaki. I like to create things and see them through to the end." And I was like, "That's what he does. That's his job." And then a little bit later, I went to check on like my Mii lookalike. They call them. It like breaks the fourth wall all the time. They talk to you and say, "I'm your me lookalike" or whatever. But I went to check on my character's apartment. He wasn't there, and it was like Michael was hanging out with Hayao, and so I went to, or with Miyazaki, and so I went to his apartment, and they were running around in the room with their arms out, chasing each other around the room like airplanes, and I was like, every movie Hayao Miyazaki has ever made is about flying. How do they know this? And then, so they're just running around, and like, I don't know, it just cracked me up. Like, I'm sure, Seth, you can probably tell like some funny stories about the demo, so you probably should, because you've probably seen the same things as me.
Yeah, I've definitely seen similar things that you were explaining, but I think the one thing that this game does that really makes it stand out in the humor department is the fact that they've somehow done the voice rendering to actually say everything in these extremely weird voices. You know, you can change the tone and the pitch and all these different things, but you know, in Animal Crossing they have the generic kind of language that they speak in. Which is great. But the fact that they're actually saying the words or any of the parts of the game is really just takes the humor to this level that's just amazing, and it just cracks you up, and you have you can't not laugh at it. Whereas if it was just text on the screen, it wouldn't be as funny. But when you see yourself talking to your girlfriend or your dog, which I have one of my dogs in the game. And like we're just like building a sandcastle together at the beach or something like that. And it's just weird, and it's like this humor that is just totally Nintendo and like bizarre, which is great.
So I should have a review copy. I was supposed to get it this week, but they didn't show up yet at Nintendo PR. So I should have that next week. So we'll have a review up for that when the game launches on the 6th. But so actually I'll be out of town, so hopefully I can get it up before then. But yeah.
I was just gonna say I'm worried about the length of the game in terms of like how much, because obviously like the next time you were to say go to your apartment and you're running around like an airplane, it's obviously not going to be as.
It's not going to be as funny as the first time.
Right. And so how many of these pre-rendered, I don't know a better term, but kind of instances are there going to be, and if it can really last.
Situations, yeah.
Yeah, like.
So just a little bit of context for you guys that probably don't know what we're talking about. On the little island that you live, there's basically, on the demo, there's like 3 or 4 things you can do. You can buy food. You can like go to town hall to like do news broadcasts and a couple other things, and you can go to the beach, and that's pretty much it. But there's like 20 other different things you can do. There's also the music hall where you can
rock out.
Music venue where you can rock out. And you can there are preset songs, but you can change the lyrics to them, and it's really funny. But yeah, what Seth was talking about was like in the demo, there's just only so many situations that occur, so it stops being funny after the first time. But I think when you get the full game, and it's and by the way, you can transfer your characters to the full game from the demo. But I think when you get the full game and you have a ton more characters and a way more places to go, you'll see like a lot more variety.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, go ahead.
Have you woken any of your characters up during a dream, or have you gone into any of their dreams yet?
I have not seen them sleeping now.
Check that out like tonight. Okay.
I will check that.
If you see them dreaming, just click on their little dream bubble and it will freak you out.
Yeah, it's weird because you can't, like we kind of are saying it's like Animal Crossing or Sims, but you don't control the characters like with the joystick or with the D-pad or anything. It's just you kind of watching and observing everything. You don't really get to say like, hey, I'm going to walk to this shop and I'm going to go to the beach. You just kind of come upon it. So it's kind of limited in that sense where you like if you turn on your DS and there's nothing interesting happening, you're just kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. But I think in the full game, it'll definitely be extremely fleshed out. I think the demo is definitely limited, but it gets the point across.
So the takeaway from this is Japanese game is very funny.
Yes.
You should check it out.
So I just want to get to a couple more little things before we go to our wrap up. So these are just kind of like throwaways. Take them, as you will. Only half of PS4 owners have PS Plus.
But they should.
Stupid.
Yeah, they definitely should.
But that's about comparable to the number of Xbox owners who have Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah,
So.
but PS Plus is way better than Xbox Live Gold at this point.
I agree. I'm just saying that there's going to be a threshold where people don't want to pay for online multiplayer.
You just think for someone that bought a system this early that they'd be willing to shell out a little bit more to get that.
When I heard that the PS Plus was required, I was upset for sure. But I've only had my PlayStation 4 for 2-3 months now, and I bought it PS Plus the day I got it, and it's already worth it.
Yeah, and if you get it, I got it on Black Friday or the day after Black Friday, so I got it for like half price.
Yeah,
which
you're
is,
racist.
That's a recurring joke. Yeah. So the other thing you can look this up. It's not too exciting, but it looks really nice. There's new the Order 1886 gameplay that Sony revealed. It's like 2.5 or 3 minutes long.
It just got delayed again, though, too, right?
Unfortunately, I don't think they even had a release date for it.
There's no release date yet, and they haven't said anything about any kind of delay.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm not crazy about the game so far. And then Watch Dogs pre-order numbers are, I guess, the highest for a new IP in next gen ever.
In next gen ever.
Yeah, in next gen.
Yeah, but second highest for a new IP.
Yeah. Did hear that.
Which is very cool. And so, lastly, a couple games have come out since the last podcast. Wolfenstein, we have a review up. I really, really liked it. I gave it a B+. If you like big, dumb shooters that actually aren't as dumb as you thought they'd be, definitely check it out. And Brien, you've been playing Transistor a little bit, right?
I have been playing Transistor a little bit. Not as much as I would like, but a little bit.
Tell me why I should like Transistor if I didn't like
Bastion.
I keep forgetting.
You probably shouldn't like Transistor if you didn't like Bastion. It's got a lot. It's almost the same kind of style of gameplay. I really like the battle system in it, though.
It's a little more strategic, isn't it?
Yes, and someone in the show I was on last night mentioned it was kind of like the VAT system from Fallout, and that's kind of accurate. So.
Jonah knows how I feel about the VATs.
Are you being Wolverine?
Yeah,
I was trying to do like the power compels you, but
I thought you were doing Wolverine claws.
I was not a big fan of the combat in Fallout, and I'll get crap for this, but I thought VATs was a crutch for it.
Gabe, I'm gonna beat you up.
I think though that if you enjoy exploration and seeing a gorgeously detailed world unfold before you, that Transistor is something you might want to take a look at.
Okay,
I will
is
have
it scheduled
a
for
review
Vita?
Eventually. What's that?
Is it coming to Vita?
Just PS4
right now, it's
PC
only confirmed PC, PS4.
I see. Because Bastion came out on iOS, and I almost bought it, even though I didn't like it. But I was
on the Humble Bundle too. So I'm guessing Transistor's coming to Mac eventually because of Bastion.
I actually did tweet the developers when they first announced the release date and everything because they did say PC and PS4 and hey, what about Mac support? Will it be available at launch? They're working on it, which is like every developer's answer ever. But
I just wanted to say, you know that scene where Neo gets jacked out of the Matrix for the first time?
Yeah, you just
turned into that. Yeah.
You did just do that.
By the way, real quick, I do want to say, like, just to back up what Gabe was saying about Wolfenstein, this is like a thing that I just don't have any interest in. I'm not really into shooters all that much anymore, but I will say that I saw a trailer for it in front of X-Men last night on a gigantic screen, and it looked awesome.
It's very fun. Like, they know exactly what it should be. The story, I saw someone say the story's smarter than it has any right to be for a Wolfenstein game. It's very, very fun. It's very well written. There's a couple of little throwaway lines that are silly, but...
you still get to kill Hitler?
No, Hitler, they mention him once, but he's not in the game. You
I
fight General Death's Head.
That's not on the nose or anything.
The villains are great, though. They're really...
It seems like they have good... I heard some of the soundtrack for the game, too, and it seemed like it was very period piece style.
It's very good. The soundtrack is cool because they... And I mentioned this in my review, but they kind of bridge the line. The game starts in 1946. It's an alternate history, obviously. Yeah. And then it jumps to 1960 from 1946. And so there's some things that sound kind of like 40s era, but then the main... I don't want to call it a score, but the main song they use a couple times is this little riff on the acoustic guitar that sounds like it could have been out of a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Very well done. When that song started playing about an hour into the game, I was like, "Yep, this is gonna be good." So lastly, I just want to go around. I'll start this off, I guess. Just what have we been playing? Besides Wolfenstein, I actually haven't really been playing all that much. I really like this game. I played it for review the first time through, and then I played through some of the second timeline. There's a choice you make pretty early on that changes a character, and so it splits. It's not anything major, but changes some gameplay mechanics, and I've been playing through it again. I'm about halfway through, maybe a little less of my second playthrough of that.
In Wolfenstein?
Yep.
Oh. You keep selling me on it more and more.
Yeah, it's great.
That's it? Okay.
Yep, that's really it. Watch Dogs coming out Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll go ahead. I was playing Tomodachi, the demo this week for my 3DS, as well as more Mario Golf.
Yeah, the DLC just came out in the second round.
Yeah, yep.
It's really hard.
It is tough, yeah, but the courses are cool. I like them. And then one of my favorite DS games, Ghost Trick. They released like a. I don't know if you guys have played that, but it's phenomenal.
It's great. Yeah, I have it.
They released it for free on iOS randomly, and
for
somehow
every chapter.
I haven't got that far in it because I don't believe that it's going to be as good, but it says, at least on the App Store, that it's the entire game.
Downloading that now.
Yeah, it's amazing, you guys. Seth, tell them about it real quick.
Well, if you really want to play through, I say play it on the DS. But it's just this game basically where you take the role of a guy that died, and you're kind of trying to solve the mystery of your own death, which sounds a lot like that PS4 game that is coming out called
Murdered Soul Suspect, and we have an article that went up for it.
Yes, but it's Ghost Trick is great, and it's very puzzle based, where you kind of have to alter the.
You set up
like
these giant Rube Goldberg contractions. Yeah,
it's very similar to that, and it's just a great game. The story's great, and it's one of my favorite games from the DS time.
But the animation is phenomenal.
Yes,
it's really fun to watch.
It's got a cool art style.
Yep.
So I downloaded that on my phone because I randomly saw it was free, and I was like, this is one of my favorite games, I'll get it. But I haven't gotten that far into it. But it seems like it's the entire game. It's not labeled as Ghost Trick Episode 1 or Part 1, so.
It says it offers in-app purchases when I just looked, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
But
it might be just the first half or first couple parts of the game, but I haven't
Well,
got
to
that
be
far.
fair, Capcom does do that quite often with their games. They've given away full episodes, full games of Phoenix Wright as well, so it could be the full game when you got it.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's worth playing, though.
Yep.
It's amazing.
What about you, Michael?
Well, I finally got my my custom backlit original model GBA back, and I've had these Game Boy Advance games for years. The only one I really play over and over is Mother 3 because it's so special to me, and it means it's really personal experience for me. But I've never really enjoyed playing Game Boy Advance games on a GBA SP. It's not comfortable to hold to me. And I have a Game Boy player, and that's fine, but I also like games to be portable, so I finally picked up a modded Game Boy Advance with a backlit screen from a GBA SP, so I've been playing a lot of those games again. Right now I'm playing Final Fantasy VI Advance again, which is why I had it on hand when you guys were talking about that earlier. And I also just started playing The Darkness again, which is also another really personal, for like a really mature and violent first-person shooter. It's like a really personal experience for me. For anybody that hasn't played it, it's got like a really excellent recreation of like the New York City subways. Not just the way that they look, but sort of the kind of characters, like the sort of kind of people you would meet in a subway. Like it's just full of characters like that are like, they seem larger than life in the game, but that's actually the kind of people you see in the underground. And also you can watch all of To Kill a Mockingbird in that game if you want to. So I'm playing those two, and I just bought Code of Princess for 3DS as well because it was $15. And it's fun, but it slows down a lot, unfortunately, for just being a 2D brawler. So, but yeah, mostly Final Fantasy VI Advance and The Darkness. and Mario Kart 8.
I insist that the SP is still the best handheld Nintendo's ever made, but
Yeah, I would
anyway,
agree
Jonah,
with
what have you
that.
been playing?
Well, so I'm on my third run through of Dark Souls 2 now.
Oh my God.
How do you do that?
Why?
Yourself.
Well, because that game, like the way it works is like you make your character build. You know what I'm saying? So you can play like.
No, I know, but how can you bring yourself to go through that? Did all your like medieval torture devices break in real life?
Because I'm not a casual, man. It's because I'm a hardcore gamer.
I'm not a casual, man.
No, I'm kidding.
Like yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it definitely like it gets easier. Like you know what you're doing the second time through, so you're like, okay, like you die less each run. So I don't know. I've been playing that, and then I played.
I love the camera cuts to me
Outlast.
when I do something embarrassing like yawn or wipe my nose.
I swear you put your thumb over the camera like that.
Yep. But then I played the new DLC that just came out for Outlast, that horror game that came out last year, which is like actually one of my favorite games ever.
Outlast is?
Outlast, yeah. I will like totally like argue it's one of the best survival horror games ever made. But that's besides the point. So the DLC came out, and it was pretty good. But I definitely thought like it's really disturbing, really gory, and I think it definitely like crosses some lines with it. And I sort of went over it in my review. So yeah, so that was pretty good. And then I've been playing.
I couldn't bring myself to play it more. Outlast. It was too stressful for me.
Oh my God, no!
I had Jonah by my side because my sense of space and direction is so bad. So he was like, "No, you were just facing that way. Go that way."
Yeah. I was his navigator through that ship.
By daylight because there was a map.
Yeah. But then I've also been playing a lot of I rebought Forza Horizon for the Xbox 360, and I also realized that that's like one of my favorite games ever. Like, and I will definitely contend that that is one of the best racing games ever made.
Nice.
And seeing, and there is that that leaked document that Forza Horizon 2 is going to get announced during E3 this year for the Xbox One, and that kind of makes me want to get an Xbox One.
It makes sense with like they've released a Forza game every year, like for years at this point.
Oh yeah, no, that was definitely the most believable one on that. Supposed.
Even if they didn't know, they were just taking an educated guess that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely, and without in the Connectless version stuff, I always said that the PS4 was the stronger of the two consoles out of the gate, but now I'm sort of starting to switch sides. And that is
I'm considering it now too.
Yeah, and that is largely helped by the impending release of Forza Horizon 2. So,
which hasn't been officially confirmed, along with a host of games for PS4 that we know nothing about. So I'm just gonna throw in for the PlayStation camp there and say there's
true. No, I'm not.
That hashtag Drive Club.
Which I've heard is hashtag not very interesting.
No, it looks really bad.
Boo!
I hate first-person racing.
All of the previews this week then that have said it's a much better game than it was.
No, I'm talking about people that saw it this week said it just looked generic.
That's totally different from everything that I've read.
Well, Brien, what are you playing?
That's because you hang out at. It's because you hang out at PlayStation with the PlayStation PR people. You have lunch with them, and they're the ones that you talk to about PlayStation games. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
What are you playing, Brien?
Transistor. I have to finish that up for review, though I'm probably not going to get it done before I go on vacation. I would love to, but I just don't think I'm going to have time. A lot more of MLB The Show, because that game has me hooked like every baseball game before it ever has.
The hitting is so hard in it, it's so frustrating, but...
Which is why I switched to pitching.
Yeah.
And then a lot of games that I'm playing right now that I can't talk about.
Okay.
You can't talk about? You can't even say that you're playing them?
No. NDA.
Oh, because it's on PlayStation Now?
I cannot confirm or deny
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've heard the story from others before. I get it. I'm playing old games, but I can't talk about them because they're being streamed to me. How about we change the context and say you're watching Let's Plays, because it's kind of like that, right?
Or just tell us what games you're playing on your PS2.
It's okay, Brian.
Amy, what games are you playing on your PS2?
My non-existent PS2 currently. No, I honestly have not played that much this week, which is kind of sad. I've realized that I've fallen down the deep dark hole known as Let's Plays, and so most of my gaming time has been spent rather on YouTube, where I've been watching other people play games. Also Twitch, because I've been playing LCS fantasy leagues, and my team sucks. Yay.
Yeah.
By the way, Amy, real quick, can you just give a quick promo for what you made today?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is gonna be uploaded tomorrow, but the first episode of Kicked, and it basically look at the wacky, wild, and wonderful world of Kickstarter, will be going up on YouTube tomorrow. So I'm re-exporting that tonight, and you can look forward to that in the morning.
And that's why your logo says Kicked, not because you are constantly being kicked out of the podcast.
So if you're watching the show live
too.
tomorrow morning, if you're watching the show once it's been uploaded with the music and stuff, it's going to be probably already up, so you'll enjoy too tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that about wraps it up for this week. We'll see you next time, and hopefully we'll get some other people in here. We have a new editor who we'll hopefully get to formally introduce next week. But we'll see you later.
I won't be here next week or the week after, so have fun without me. I'll be traveling in places with no internet.
What is this, North Korea?
Yeah, where are you going?
My dad lives in North Korea.
Oh,
That's Korea, I mean.
that's unfortunate.
My dad lives in South Korea, I mean.
Hashtag Pyongyang. All right, anyway, so follow us. The Twitters will be in the description again, so you can see all that stuff, as well as our own Twitter. Check us out, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
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 Good evening.